What are the differences between Korean educational curriculum and English educational system?
That's a little bit hard because I don't know the Korean system very well. I will try and give you a very quick answer. I think the classes, actually the one big difference I do know is that generally school finishes much earlier in England than it does in Korean. So in Korea I understand that and there are much less hogwons. So in England I don't know anybody who goes to a hogwon for extra education, whereas I know some people, there are lots of hogwons around. There must be quite a few people who go. And as we come up towards the end of education, I know in Korea it's not unusual to study till 10 or 11 o'clock at night at school, and that doesn't happen in England. The school, as you come up towards the end of education, the school will normally close at maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and you have to leave. You can study at home more if you want to, but you don't do any more studying. And the only other thing I can think of is that we have, normally you attend 3 different schools or 4 different schools depending on what area you live in. So you start at junior, middle and high school, but there is some areas you actually have 4 different schools. So you start off and you will attend 4 different schools before you finish. Is that okay? Yes.
I would like to know the tip culture of England.
So, tip culture. Okay. Tip culture in England is different than America and very different than Korea. So, if you go into a cafe, if you go into somewhere that does fast food, no tipping. The more expensive a restaurant you go to, the more likely it is you have to tip. And normally about 10% of whatever you paid for the food, you would give to a tip. So, if you go to a really nice restaurant and the service has been good, you would give a tip. You would give, and as I said, so if the meal was £100, you would give £10 in a tip to the staff. But in England, in America, I know it's absolute, you've got to give a tip. In England, not so much. So if you think you've had bad service, you haven't been impressed with the food, then you won't give a tip. If you think you have been impressed, you may give more money. So good restaurants, you do give a tip, but in cafes, in fast food restaurants, no tip.
Thank you.
Good question.
What was the most embarrassing moment in Korea?
There have been many interesting moments. The spelling mistake I made earlier wasn't good. But I'm trying to think. It's the cultural differences and the way we do things differently. I'm trying to think the most embarrassing. When I first came to Korea, I had to take a taxi from the hotel to the company I worked for. And the company that I was working for in Korea was Kair, K-A-I-R. So I got in the taxi and asked in English, and that was okay, they understood English. And they took me to Kair, K-A-I-R-I. But that was not where I was supposed to be going. The full name was the Korean Aeronautical Research Institute. And they took me to the Korean Atomic Research Institute. And I ended up going to 3 different places and ended up 2 hours late going to many different places. And the last place I went to, they didn't understand English, which is, you know, I don't expect everybody to understand English. So they sent me to a bus to try and get to them. And I have, at that point, first day in Korea, not a word of Korean. So that was quite embarrassing and took quite a lot of time. and encouraged me to learn a local language whenever I travel somewhere. So it's really useful. So that was quite embarrassing, turning up late, and quite confusing as well. Any other questions? Yeah.
In Korea, we learn Korean, English, and extra language like Japanese and Chinese. Which language you or in England learn? Second language?
The standard second language in England is French. Most, when you go to school, most people, but not all people, learn French. But normally not as well as Korean people learn English. Most people who speak French well do extra study beyond school, but French is the second language that we learn.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. And actually, I have learned and played ultimate frisbee when I went to middle school.
Okay, that's good.
And some of my friends that were good at playing participated in Korea ultimate frisbee competition.
Yeah.
And although I enjoyed playing frisbee for 2 years, but I didn't know that it is English culture. So
It started in America,
really?
but it's just growing very quickly. So when I was at school, I never, or up until recently, I'd never heard of ultimate frisbee. But now my people that I meet from England, younger people, are going, yes, the university I went to play ultimate frisbee, and they played ultimate frisbee. A lot of my American friends play ultimate frisbee, and as I said, I didn't realise it's really quite big. I think it's bigger in Korea than it is in England.
So I was really glad to know that some new things about frisbee that I love, and also other things such as Brighton. I really want to visit there someday. So thank you for your lecture again.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, we are group 4. We really like your lecture. We learned lots of new things. I never knew there was Eurotunnel. Okay, so we prepared some questions.
Hello, my name is Kim, and I would like to. I heard fish and chips actually taste bad from many other people. Although British are very proud of their food. So, can you explain me what does it taste like and why British love fish and chips as British?
Yes. Fish and chips are, the fish is, I can do that, the fish is tegu type fish. So although I said fish and chips in tegu, it's also cod. And it's battered. Do you understand battered? It has, it's flour, egg, milk mixed, and then put on the outside, and then it's fried. And the chips are just a potato cut up. But like I've not seen it in Korea, they're normally much bigger. So not fine, small cuts, but big. As far as the taste is concerned, I've had mixed response from Korean people. As an example, my wife likes the fish, but doesn't like the chips. So we will get fish and chips, she'll eat the fish, and maybe cook some rice, and have the rice with the fish, but doesn't like the chips. And one of the reasons it's so popular is because England has a history with Christianity, and I'm not an expert, and they talk about eating fish on Fridays. So as a convenient way of eating fish on a Friday, people go and buy fish and chips on a Friday. So if you want fish and chips in England, don't go on a Friday, because you'll see the queues of people trying to buy fish and chips. So it's easier to go another time. But that's part of the reason why fish and chips was popular, because it was following the Bible, having fish on a Friday, and it was an easy way to buy fish, an easy way to get fish.
Thank you. Thank you for answering.
You compared some Korean cultures with English cultures, and I want to ask you, what do you think, what is the nicest culture or worst culture of Korea?
I think that's an interesting question. I like the respect everybody shows each other. I think that is good, so that younger people show older people respect. But even when a really old person bows, a really young person bows to an old person, the old person still bows back. They're showing respect for each other. And it's harder to do in England. We don't bow to each other. There isn't a different type of language we use. The words I use with my grandmother, the words I use with my young niece and nephew are very similar. So it's nice in Korea to be able to show each other respect. That I like. But it's also quite hard work for me. So that's one of the things. I like it, but I find it, especially names. So for my family, learning all the different Korean names, because I can't call any of my relatives their first name. So Hyungnim, Ajamanim, Abonim, Omonim. There are so many different names, and I can't copy my wife, because of course she doesn't call her brother, she calls her brother Opa, not Hyung. So it's quite confusing. It's very different in England, so I find that quite hard work. I understand it, it's okay, it's good, but at the same time that is quite hard. I do find that hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you again for your interesting lecture.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks for your interesting lecture. I really liked your lecture, and I could know a lot of things, a lot of new things about UK, and I want to visit UK soon.
I understand about the school in UK, and what time does the school usually start?
Schools normally start in the morning at about 9 o'clock. So we start, and it's kind of a bit different. I think Korea's changed a little bit. I've seen movies where they close the door in Korea, and if you're late, you're in big trouble. You do get in trouble in England, but there aren't big gates that they close. Most schools are quite open, so you can walk in. So if you're faster running, you can get to class in time. But yes, 9 o'clock in the morning, classes normally start.
I want to know about what kind of dessert do you usually enjoy after having your meal?
A big variety. English people like their dessert. It's one of the things that I've noticed in Korea. We have food, and that's it finished. Maybe later in the evening, we'll have fruit, or we'll go out for something, we may go out for a coffee. That's in England, we finish the main food, then we have dessert. But I like ice cream, cake, donuts, jelly, many things, many different things, similar to Korea.
Thank you. What is your favorite food in Korea?
Ooh. I've eaten some very big variety of food. I would have said I like bulgogi. The strangest thing I've eaten, I'll see if I can get the pronunciation correct. Do you know honga? Fish? Yes. That was quite strange. But I like a lot of variety of Korean food. One of the things I like is the variety of food here. It's quite good. But bibimbap, when it's in the hot pot, it's really nice as well. I like that.
Thank you.
What kind of place do you want to recommend to us in Brighton or visitors?
There is a palace in the pier is quite good fun. there are many things to do, and to walk around the pier is free, so it's quite good just to see the views. And there are places you can buy food. It's quite good fun. But there is also a palace in Brighton, which is a little bit different than any other palace because it is styled almost. It looks like it's from India, but it's got all these English-style buildings around the outside, and then you have this palace that looks so it should be in India in the middle. But it's quite a nice place. They have a museum in there, and you can walk around and see the interior. So that's quite a nice place to visit.
Thank you for your lecture, and thank you for your answer.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We are group 8, and we only have 3 members, but we try to do as many things we can. Thank you for your lecture. We made a Venn diagram and we wrote same things and differences between UK and Korea. And Kyujin wrote UK and Juhi wrote Korea. We have 2 questions. First, Kyujin.
Why does the Kingdom of Gentlemen UK is more warmer? The winter is warmer than Korea.
I will try and make this simple. It's because of our position compared to the sea. So if you look England, if you look to the left of England, it's just water. For a long, long distance, just water. And what happens is, as that water moves, it affects the way the air moves. So in the winter, the hot air from further south comes to England. And in the summer, it brings in more cold air from the north to England. So England is, and then we are the first country that all this comes to. So even compared to Europe, so my brother lives in Belgium, and in Belgium it will be colder in Belgium in the winter than it is in England, although it's much further south. But it's because we are, our position compared to the sea, with this big sea off to the left-hand side.
In Korea, doctor and lawyer are the respected jobs. Are there any respected jobs in UK?
I think it's quite similar. So yes, if doctor, engineer, teacher, I think one of the ones that's more respected in England than Korea is policeman. So if your parents would be really, really proud if you were a policeman. But quite similar to Korea.
Thank you for your answering.
Okay.
We're group 3 and I'm the tutor of group 3, Hong Eun-soo. First of all, thank you for your interesting lecture, and especially I really loved your English pronunciation because usually I really enjoy watching English dramas. Well, that's not that important, but anyway, me and all of my group members thought that it was really great lecture, and after talking about the contents of your lecture, we made 4 questions. First question is,
Hello. You said there's a lots of rainy days in the UK. So do people bring their umbrella every day?
I think we get used to being wet, but yes, it's normal to have in your car or to carry around with you. Not necessarily every day, but quite commonly, or the clothes we wear are different as well. So in Korea, I've got clothes for really cold weather, so more gloves, more hats, and in England, I've got clothes that are for wet weather more. So I've got a big raincoat, I've got other things, waterproof shoes. So yes, we do take umbrellas, we do wear slightly different clothes in England than I did in Korea because of the weather.
Okay, thank you.
You say while English doesn't think age is important, but Korean think age is important. Then have you ever had an embarrassing experience about people ask your age?
I've had some interesting situations with people asking my age. I don't find it embarrassing, but when I first came to Korea, I were many years ago, someone asked me my age and they found out that I was younger than them, and they were very excited, which I found strange. But they were, because of the Korean culture, in the respect, they found it strange that they met a foreign person who was younger than them. And to me that was very strange to begin with. Now I understand a little bit more, so it's not so strange. So it's not embarrassing, but sometimes unusual. Sometimes just, why are they asking? So now I understand a little bit more. But yes, it's interesting. It's something I really noticed.
You said in the lecture there, Korea is cooler than England, and there are many other talk in Korea. So I wonder that have you ever been to other country?
Yes, I've been to Caribbean Bay 2 times. Once in the winter, which was wonderful because there was snow around, so we were running really quickly and then going into the water, which was warm, and then running back or going somewhere else, which was warm, but in between it was very, very cold. And once in the summer I went. It was really good fun. I enjoyed it. Okay.
Could you tell us about the education system in England?
As I said earlier, you go through, so you do school between 5 and 16. You have to go to school. After 16, you would go either continue at school or go to college. But you don't have to, that's an option. And then you would go to university. So in some ways it's similar to Korea, in some ways it's not.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for your great lecture and thank you for answering these questions. Thank you.
Hello, we are the group 10, and I'm the tutor of group 10, Hwang Sung-woo. And thank you for teaching England culture easily. Especially Green teacher's twin brother is 10 minutes older. Then Green teacher was very interesting to us. And we prepared 3 questions about you. And first question.
How old is your wife?
A Korean question. My wife is 44, so she's just over a year younger than me.
What do you like about Korea?
Many things. I like the food, I like the culture, there are many places to go and visit, and it's very interesting. But there are many things that I like about Korea.
Which sport is your favorite?
At the moment, my favorite is ultimate frisbee. I play it in Korea, probably 4 or 5 times a year, go to competitions.
Okay, thank you for answering our question. And we want to go UK. We want to go England. Thanks to your lecture.
Thank you.
Hello, we are Group 5 and I'm the tutor of the Group 5 teacher. And we prepared some questions about the lecture.
Hi. What's the difference between chips and fries?
They're very similar. Normally in England we call them chips, and the fries name comes more from America, but generally just the size. Fries are much smaller and chips are normally bigger.
I'm curious that how can supplies in supermarkets can be cheaper in England, even though €1 is expensive than 1,000 won.
A complicated question. One of the things is that we in England the availability is much more. So there's two things. One of which is that we can buy from France, we can buy from Germany, we can buy from many other countries in Europe. And the other thing is England is much flatter than Korea. So we have much more space to farm than in Korea. So it's much easier for us, it's much cheaper, it's much more areas to farm on.
You say in Pier have an amusement park and restaurant. So what do you think what thing can be added in Pier?
Sorry, what did I think?
What do you think what thing can be added in Pier?
It's interesting because the other pier they had many ideas for, and they have a plan to rebuild, and they've talked about restaurants, they've talked about a casino, they've talked about many things. So technically anything could be on there, but normally it's very similar, somewhere to play computer games, somewhere to get snack food, a cafe, somewhere to get drinks are quite common on piers, but sometimes little shops as well.
Thank you.
Motor racing that you mentioned was very interesting to me, so I would like to know what the reward is when you get the first place in the race.
Normally for the competitions that I used to do, just either a medal or a trophy, because it was just friends competing. There wasn't any big prize money because you would have to put the money in and then get the money back. So most of it is where I used to compete, just a trophy, just knowing you were the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for the lecture, and it was very impressive to know almost all the things of England. And now I have some bucket list when I go to England, like some visiting some pier and have some fish and chips. And again, thank you for your lecture.
Glad you enjoyed that.
First of all, thank you for your lecture. I was very impressed about the sports in England. First, we wrote down the difference of Korea and UK, and we prepared 2 questions. First one.
What is your favorite menu in bakery?
My favourite thing in a bakery is pie. So with the meat, the pastry on the outside. I like pies.
What mechanics do you train? Yeah, and you said your job is engineer.
Yes, I was an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
And so what trait? Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
What mechanics do you train?
Because I was an electrical engineer, I used to use many different pieces of equipment. So some tools like cutters and screwdrivers, but also I used to do design work, so computers, multimeters, which is measuring voltage, and many other things, oscilloscopes, but big explanation for one of those.
Thank you.
Thank you for your lecture, and it was a great time for us.
I enjoyed it.
So for all of us, it was our first time joining the CICC talk show, and it was such an honor to meet you here today. And we would like to know what kind of things are culturally similar between England and Korea.
Oh, a difficult one. Culturally similar. I think it's things people like a lot. So people like food, They enjoy sport. Football is big in England, big in Korea. People enjoy playing sport at the weekends. It's the same in England and in Korea. And I think there's quite a few things, quite a few similarities. I would have said those are some of the things you would notice straight away. You know, the like for trying different foods, and football being one of the big ones, where everybody seems to like football a lot over here.
What kinds of holidays in England?
The one big difference in holidays in England compared to Korea is there are many places that we go to, Turkey and in Spain, and you go there, hotel, and everything is included. So you go to the hotel and you pay one price, fly out, all the food, all the drink, all the entertainment, all included in one place. And I've not seen that yet for a Korean holiday, but that's one of the holidays that we quite like and is very popular in England.
Thank you so much for your lecture.
Thank you.